Hello, Ellie here from Thankful Flow Yoga. Thank you for joining me for this YouTube practice. So today, this flow has been inspired by wanting to bring a practice today that helps you to find some grounding and calm during uncertain times. Depending on when you're watching this practice, there's been a fair amount of uncertainty over the last couple of years or so. But ultimately, uncertainty is also something that, comes into our lives at times. And it's really about, this practice is really about connecting to finding ways within yourself that you can come back to your grounding through breath, through movement. So we're going to be focusing on that today. It's going to be a very gentle flow. We're going to be doing some stretching through different areas of the body and gently moving and releasing tension and hopefully areas where we're storing that stress within the body. So when you're ready, come into a comfortable seated position on your mat. I'm going to be cross-legged, but if you would rather have your legs out in front or in an alternative seated position, then please do. Make sure that you're comfortable. You can have a block under your hips if that helps you to come into your neutral spine alignment. And then we're going to place the hands on the knees and have the palms facing down. So this is a gesture of grounding. And when you're ready, you can either start to close the eyes or take a steady gaze somewhere out in front of you. And I want you to take a big shoulder roll here. And then let your shoulder blades run down your back. Start to observe your breath. Starting with noticing where you can feel the breath traveling to within the body. Perhaps in the belly, the abdomen, maybe the chest. Simply being the observer. Being the observer, start to notice your thoughts that your mind is creating. Remembering that you are not your thoughts. Perhaps connecting to the knowing part of you that dwells behind the thinking mind. I'm going to try and be in this part of ourselves for this practice. And if you're not sure how, if you're wondering here, how do I do that? Then listen to your breath. Bring your awareness back to the breath. This is your anchor. This is your grounding. This is going to bring you back to the present moment. And then from here, we're going to work with some coherent breathing. So this is a good breathing for balancing the nervous system. It's a simple breath technique. So inhaling for 6, exhaling for 6. As always, it's optional. If you'd rather work with your own breath, then you can. And this breath actually brings the brain waves into a meditative state. It slows down the breath to a point where it calms the brain waves, calms the nervous system, calms the body. So when you're ready, inhaling for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Exhaling for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Inhaling for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Exhaling for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Inhaling for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Exhaling for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Inhaling for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Exhaling for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Inhaling for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Exhaling for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You can either continuing for a bit longer with that breath or come back to your natural breathing now. And start to feel the connection between your hands and wherever they're resting. So you have the palms facing down. Notice the connection between the hands and the legs. And keeping the eyes closed, if that feels comfortable, start to draw the hands to heart center, bringing your hands into Anjali Mudra, so this prayer position with the hands. And lightly press the hands in this prayer position into the chest bone, connecting into the heart space, the heart center, where we cultivate love. Love for ourselves and others. And quite often a lot to do with the heart chakra is finding the balance between the two. We need both. And now if you wish to, you can set an intention for the practice. So you might like to offer this practice, the energy from this practice, to a loved one or a group, a collective of people you want to send your energy and your love to. Or you could dedicate the practice to yourself, some self-love. Then we start to slowly open the eyes when you're ready. Bring the hands away from heart center slightly, but keeping them in your prayer position. We'll keep the little finger and the thumbs connected and open out the rest of your fingers. So finding your lotus mudra here. So it's like I'm creating this bowl shape with the hands. You can imagine that you're holding some energy here within the hands. And this is a symbol, a gesture of purity and love. It's connected to the heart chakra, this mudra. Also transformation. So if you set an intention in this practice, you might imagine that you're holding this energy of this intention within this lotus mudra, cultivating whatever it is. It could be love, it could be peace, it could be whatever you feel that you want to cultivate today. And release the hands down. And you can rest the hands in the lap. And we'll start to drop the chin down towards the chest. And then roll your right ear over towards this right shoulder. And then option to bring the right hand around and lightly rest this right hand on the left side of the head. And then reach the left arm out to the left side. And start to point the fingertips up to the sky. And then slowly point the fingertips down to face the earth. This is also called nerve flossing. So you can keep going with this movement with the hand, taking it slow, noticing how the body feels, any sensations as you do this movement. So we're calming irritated nerves with this movement, maybe in the neck, the shoulders, but could also reach other areas of the body. And release. Start to drop the chin back down towards the chest. And then start to draw the left ear over towards the left shoulder. Maybe this left hand's coming around and resting on the side of the head. Reach the right arm out to the side. Point the fingers up to the sky. Slowly point them down to the earth. Keep breathing. Gentle movements. Well done. And start to release the right hand, release the left hand. Pull the hands behind your head, elbows coming out to the side. And on your next exhale, draw the chin down towards the chest and draw the elbows in, rounding the spine. And see if you can draw the belly button in towards the spine, tuck the tailbone under. Breathing here. Inhale, lift the gaze, open the elbows out to the side, shine the heart forwards. Exhale, drop the head around the spine. Inhale, lift the head, open the arms, shine the heart forwards again. And release the hands down to the side. Right fingertips resting on the mat. Inhale, sweep the left arm up. Lift up and out of the waist. Exhale, come into your stretch. Breathing here. Exhale, release the left hand back down to the mat. Inhale, sweep the right arm up to the sky. Lift up and out from the waist. Exhale, come into the stretch. Feeling that right side body opening up now. Exhale, release, well done. And now we're going to move into actually no, we're not. And now we're going to take some wrist flicks here. So basically shaking the hands and the wrists. This might feel a bit silly. This is something that you haven't done before. But this is a great way to release energy that is not serving you, anything that you don't want. So you could make these wrist flicks as vigorous or as gentle as you want them to be. But imagine that you're letting go any tension, any worries, anything at all here. We're letting that energy go. We're releasing it from the body, the mind, letting it go, shaking it off. I don't know about anyone else, but I personally love this one. We're going to be coming back to this again in the class today. So if you feel a bit silly, don't worry. Release, well done. And then start to move into your tabletop position on your mat now. And from tabletop, sit your hips towards your heels and start to rest the forehead and the chest down to the mat for your child's pose. And this is a restorative practice. So if you are working with a bolster or you have a bolster, if you don't, then come into your normal child's pose. But if you do, you might like to make this a wide leg child's pose. And let your body come over the bolster, and maybe you're resting the head and the body on your bolster. Close the eyes or take a gaze, a steady gaze. And when we're trying to connect to a sense of being grounded, a sense of being centered, sometimes it can be helpful to reflect on what it is that makes you feel safe, what it is that makes you feel stable. What are your foundations within your life that help you feel connected to yourself, connected to others, connected to Earth? And it don't need to be kind of huge things. It could be as simple as, I need to be in nature on a regular basis. I need to go for a walk. I need to sit and breathe for 5 minutes. I need to read a book. I need to lie down in a shavasana, in a child's pose. Everyone's needs will be different. Once you get to know what the things are that you need to find grounding, to be centered, then you can start to use these as tools within your life that you can keep coming back to, regulating yourself, no matter what is going on in the outside world, how uncertain or stressful or whatever is going on for you. We'll start to slowly come up from child's pose now, so removing the bolster if you were lying on one. Coming back to your all fours position on the mat. We're going to come into thread the needle here. So we're threading this left arm underneath the right arm, bending the right arm, and then lowering the left side of the head down to the mat. Now, it might be that you want to have some cushions supporting the head and the neck. This can feel quite strong. So if this doesn't feel good for you, you could always come into a seated twist instead. Or you could come down lower in a wide leg child's pose position, and you might like to do the twist here. Okay, so thinking about what option's going to serve you, thinking about what this practice is all about. Love, compassion, calm. So how can you give that to yourself, and your choices of what to do with your body in this practice as I guide you and give you options is a really good way to check in with that. Noticing what choices you make, where those choices are coming from. Are they coming from a place of love and compassion towards yourself? If it feels good to you, you can thread this right arm around. Maybe it finds the left thigh. Breathing here. Slowly start to unravel. So we're drawing the right arm back down to the ground. Gently and carefully release from the twist, coming back to neutral. Take a gentle rock back and forth in neutral in your tabletop position, and then we'll come on to the other side. So grounding through the left hand, right hand threads underneath. Remember your options. You could take a different option on a different side of the body. Maybe this left arm reaches up to the sky. Maybe it comes around and finds this right thigh. That might not be where you are today, and that's okay. Slowly start to unravel, drawing the left hand back down to the mat. Slowly start to release back to your tabletop position. And then from here, we're going to start to lower down so that you're lying on your front. So thinking about knees, chest, chin, lowering down so that you're lying on your belly. And then inhale, roll your shoulders back, peel the chest away from mat cobra. Pressing the tops of the feet into the mat to activate the lower body. Exhale, release the chest back down. Inhale, start to lift the chest away again and come into your Sphinx pose. So forearms are coming down to the mat, gaze is shining forwards. Reconnect to your breath. And then start to slowly draw this right heel in towards the right hip and send your gaze over the right shoulder. Exhale, release the right leg back down, come back to neutral. Inhale, bend the left leg in, send your gaze over the left shoulder. Exhale, release, left leg down, come back to neutral. And once more, inhale, bend the right leg in, gaze comes over the right shoulder. Exhale, release. Inhale, gaze comes over the left shoulder, left leg bends in. Exhale, release. Then start to lower the chest down to the mat. Bring your elbows out to the side. You might like to rest your head on your hands. Closing off the eyes or taking a steady gaze. Crocodile pose. Observe any sensations in the body. Notice what's alive for you. Really inhabiting your body fully. So being fully aware of everything that's going on in your body in this moment. Noticing how all the different parts of your body are feeling. Noticing and observing the thoughts passing through your mind. And observing how you feel. And from here, we're going to start to bend this right leg in. And either this right hand might be able to come around and take the right foot, come into a stretch here. If your hand's not reaching your foot, that's okay too. You could be simply bending the right leg in and pressing the hips into the mat. If you wanted to use a strap and you're able to put the strap around the foot, then you absolutely can, and you can use that to come into the stretch here. Thinking about what's going to be restorative and what's going to work for you. And try and allow the upper body and the head to hang heavy, rest heavy on the mat. Stretching through the quads, right quad. Start to release the right leg. Coming on to the other side now, so bend the left leg in, maybe this hand finds the left foot. Breathing here, lightly pressing the hips into the mat. Start to release the left leg down to the mat. And then we're going to come into a juicy shoulder stretch now. So this can feel quite intense for some of us, feel quite tight through the shoulders. So always listening to your body and just reduce that range of movement. Reduce that range of movement if you need to. So what we're doing is we're staying lying on the front and then send your right arm out to the right side. So stretching that right arm out to the right side. And then you're going to ground through this left hand. So left hand's on the left side and we're grounding into it. And what we're doing is we're grounding into the left hand and then slowly lifting the left side of the body away so that I'm rolling onto my right side, but my right shoulder and my right side of my head is connected to the mat. Finally stretch through the shoulder here. And to intensify, you can bend the left leg, maybe this foot comes out behind you. This is really going to intensify the stretch. So thinking about what feels right for you. Slowly start to release, bring the body back down. And then coming onto the other side. So left arm reaches out to the left side, right hand grounds into the floor on the right side. And then we're slowly drawing the right side of the body away from the mat. Allow the head, the left side of the head to rest on the mat, finding that stretch in the shoulder. And then maybe the right leg bends and the right toes come to the ground behind you. That is just an option. Slowly start to release, coming back to neutral. So now we're going to come into a heart opening posture and we're going to hold it for a few breaths or for actually, a couple of minutes. So I've got a couple of options for you. We're going to need some props or blocks here. So I suggest either using a block or a bolster. So if you're using your block, what we're going to do is come into a supported fish pose. So we're placing the block to the thoracic part of underneath the thoracic part of your spine. So it's underneath where this chest and heart space area is roughly. And then what we're doing is lying down on the block and allowing your head to drop down to the mat, or you might like to have a cushion for the head as well. Again, just being mindful of how this feels. And then allowing the arms to come out to the side and opening across the chest. So you can feel this opening across the heart space. And then you might also like to bring the legs into bound angle position, so soles of the feet together and knees dropping out to the side. So this is gaining an opening through the hip space as well. So maybe taking that option here. Alternatively, you can take whatever variation that you want with the legs. So you can have the legs long or just bent in. You might like to come into the option with the bolster. So you might be bringing your bolster out behind you and allowing your spine and your head to rest on the bolster. And then again, maybe coming into Baddha Konasana, maybe having the legs lengthened out in front and then dropping the arms out to the side. If you do not have a block or a bolster, you could use cushions or blankets or something else to prop underneath. What we're trying to do is feel a sense of opening through the chest area, the heart space, and the front body. So once you've found your position, start to close off the eyes. Perhaps coming back to that 6-6 breathing, if that feels good for you. So inhaling for 6, exhaling for 6. Back to your coherent breathing. And perhaps starting to come back to the intention that you might have set at the beginning of the practice. Perhaps you were dedicating this practice to yourself or others, loved ones. Noticing any energy that you feel like you've built within the body today. You might be able to sense energy in the hands or the fingertips. Or you might be able to notice through moving and gently opening, stretching the body that you might have released a little bit of tension or stress that might have been held within the body. You might even feel certain emotions arising, certain things coming up for you. There's no right or wrong. You may feel that, you may not. If you do, sometimes it's nice to journal after a practice like this. Writing down and releasing any thoughts and feelings onto paper or however you wish to do it. And coming back to some thoughts connected to grounding. So what makes me feel safe? What makes me feel stable? What are my foundations? How can I connect to this within myself? even showing up for this practice today, doing this gentle class with me, showing up for yourself, giving yourself some grounding, listening to yourself. We'll start to really gently come out of the heart opening position, so removing anything that you had placed underneath you and lying back down into a Shavasana position on your mat, taking any blankets or anything that you need to make you feel comfortable. Closing off the eyes or taking a steady gaze. You might be able to feel the rib cage expanding with your breath. Just keep relaxing all the muscles in your face and your jaw. Relax your neck and your shoulders. Let the shoulder blades and the hips melt into the mat. We'll slowly start to take some gentle movement back into the body, perhaps in the hands or the feet. But if you have time to stay in your practice longer in your Shavasana, then please do. If you're ready to come out, take a roll over to one side. Pausing there for a couple of breaths. Slowly start to bring yourself back up into a seated position on your mat when you're ready. Keeping the eyes closed if that's comfortable. Slowly opening the eyes when you're ready, coming back into the physical body. Bringing the hands to heart center and Jali Mudra. Pressing hands into the chest. Feeling that connection. Perhaps feeling the energy cultivated. We'll close off the practice with a releasing breath. So inhaling through the nose and exhaling out through the mouth. And when you breathe out, you can make this into a big releasing breath, a big sigh, letting it all go. So inhale through the nose for 1, 2, 3. Exhale, release out through the mouth. We'll do 2 more. Inhale through the nose for 1, 2, 3. Exhale, release. Inhale through the nose for 1, 2, 3. Exhale, release. Thank you for being here and doing this practice with me. I hope that it has been helpful and hopefully left you with a sense of feeling calm and grounded. Do always leave me your feedback below, and there will be more, as always, free videos coming to my channel. But I do also have a membership linked below for anyone who would like further in-depth practices, in-depth breathwork meditations, chakra practices, and live classes, etc. So do have a look at that if it's aligned to you. Thank you so much, and I hopefully see you soon.